Okay, so first off, for the sake of our readers, we've got quite a few questions to squeeze in here, but we wanted to let you introduce yourself quickly in your own words. So who is Adam Andrzejewski and why is he running for governor?
Well, I'm a father. I'm an entrepreneur. I spearheaded one of the most successful grassroots good government movements in state history, and now I want to take that into our state government. I had noticed just an abject lack of leadership and an abject lack of pushback from Republicans versus the statewide Chicago Democrats over the last number of years. In the absence of any semblance of leadership on policy and any semblance of pushback against the patronage political class of Illinois, I decided to run for governor, and the message is resonating on the trail. The people in this cycle, I think the people of Illinois, they want reform, and my candidacy is a referendum on the simple fact if the people of Illinois are ready for real reform. I believe they are in this cycle.
Well, that's good. And then for me, as a national level guy, I'm out of D.C., the one thing that really intrigued me about your candidacy is, a lot of candidates have leveraged the Internet. People called Obama the Internet candidate. But I think you're probably the first one I've seen that makes the Internet not only a central part of your campaign, but a central campaign issue. Your slogan is every dime online in real time. I think you're the first person I've ever seen do that. So what is it that excites you about the Internet and its potential that made you make it a central focus in your campaign?
Well, specifically to transparency. And obviously, Barack Obama campaigned on transparency and has wrecked the word because he hasn't implemented his practices and his promises. So I think with technology, it offers limited government Republicans the opportunity to bring government into the 21st century to be able, specifically in Illinois, our state budget has grown by 45%, while our population has only grown by 4%. But Chicago Democrats that are in control tell us that there's no place to cut in the budget. So utilizing technology by putting every dime online in real time, spending cuts can be proven. The first step to doing that is just being able to see it. So I liken that to online banking for state government. We have it at home. All this information is public information. In our founding documents, it says that a periodic disclosure and recording of the incoming and outgoing funds of the country should be done on a timely basis. Well, I just believe in the internet age that it should be done that should mean in real time disclosure.
Well, that's good. Okay, that's Anthony. I think you had a few questions here.
I do. Mr. Andrzejewski, your campaign has really focused on state spending, as you were just discussing. Aside from your proposal to put the entire state budget online, what specific areas of the budget, departments, programs, etc., would you like to cut?
Well, first of all, I can open up the books of state government through executive order. So my second executive order would derive full measure of savings from the open books, and it's a top-to-bottom forensic audit of state spending. I looked around the country for best practices. Kansas did it. They saved $1 billion. They're 5 times smaller than Illinois. Texas in the early 2000s did it, and they saved $8 billion. So I believe Illinois can save $3 to $5 billion through a forensic audit. And what it'll uncover is like a grant that was given to the Chicago Public Schools for $87 million to teach disadvantaged students, and the money was completely misspent. It'll also uncover what's just turned out in the newspapers over the course of the last 2 weeks here, and that is the state of Illinois owns 16 luxury airplanes. They fly them around the state, politicians, at $3,000 an hour, and we spend $30 million a year on our aircraft. Well, all that a forensic audit would turn up, and I would zero out. The liberal professor at the University of Chicago says that 5% of all state spending is waste, fraud, corruption, and abuse. That's the $3 billion figure. Since Kansas is 5 times smaller than us and they saved $1 billion, that's the $5 billion figure. I figure by the time we get finished with the forensic audit, we may save more than $5 billion because we'll also iron out all the duplicative services For instance, mosquito abatement in Illinois is run out of 9 separate state agencies and will streamline government to such a degree that we'll finally be able to defend the taxpayer in Illinois. So that's my first step. Illinois faces a $10 billion budget deficit. I'm running against 6 other opponents in this Republican primary, none of which have identified with a menu of choices $10 billion worth of spending cuts. My campaign, we've done the hard work, the heavy lifting, and we have that menu of choices. And I submit to you that despite the rhetoric of my opponents, if you're not running on spending cuts, you're running on tax hikes because there's no other choice. There's no other option. So I've said no new taxes, and here is $10 billion worth of options in order to cut spending. So one of the first places that I would zero out is the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. Illinois ranks last year 48th in job growth. Over a 10-year period, we ranked 48th. Over a 20-year period, we ranked 48th. This is the department with the mission of growing jobs in Illinois. They've had their turn. I would zero them out. That would save over $1 billion. State workers and government workers at all levels of government need to take a pay freeze and flat pay and not a pay increase. At the state level, state workers, the union contracts, they're getting 4%, 5%, and 6% pay increases. Flat pay, I will politically force open those union contracts, and they need to take flat pay. Flat pay in a deflationary cycle, like the CPI in the trailing 12 months is 1.5% negative. In that environment, flat pay is a pay hike. That would save the state of Illinois $2 billion. Every single grant that we can't put a metric to, that we can't put a performance measure on, there's $4 billion worth of state grants outside of healthcare and education, the political hot buttons. I would look at those $4 billion worth of grants first, and we figure there's probably $1 billion that we could zero out. We've taken a look at a zip code distribution of those grants. Many of them go